All right, welcome to a special episode of Frags and Beer Radio Live. I'm joined live in the studio with author Ray Clark. Hello.
Hello.
So we're doing this special. I'll take these off because of the glare. You guys aren't used to seeing them anyway. We're doing this special today rather than Friday night because I just saw Captain Marvel and Ray saw Captain Marvel over the weekend. And we wanted to talk about that before this next weekend so you guys can decide if you're interested in seeing it, you want to see it, or what you think about it. You want to ask questions and share. If you are watching any of the live streams, be sure to ask questions. We're here to talk, and there are going to be spoilers, so warning if you haven't seen it. If you haven't seen it yet, you may not want to watch this unless you don't care about spoilers. If you actually want to know specifics, there are a few things that are going on out there as far as information about the movie that's not quite accurate. So we're going to set some of that straight. A couple of things I've seen on social media that, whether intentional or not, are not accurate. People have been saying things about the movie that are completely untrue, and I don't want people basing their whether they're going to go see it or not on that. So before we get started, Ray, you are an author, a gamer, tabletop mostly, streamer. Is there anything you don't do?
All things geeky.
Yeah. Awesome. You've got several books out now. You've got a new one coming. When's the next one coming out?
I'm aiming for August.
August for the next one.
I will finish my trilogy.
And is
August.
that's the remind me?
The Path of Ascension trilogy.
Yes.
Yep.
Okay, so that one finishes this year and will release on August.
That's my goal.
Awesome. So check out Amazon.com.
Yes.
Ray Clark. I read the first book. I've got the second one to read, and I did enjoy it. Good story. Got a good groundwork for the rest of it, so I'm interested in seeing where it goes, and you guys should definitely check it out. So, first impressions. I know we didn't talk much about it before the movie. Did you have expectations going into it, or?
Well, Miss Marvel in particular is kind of one of my favorite characters,
Mm-hmm.
so I went into it a little bit apprehensive. I, up front, I'm just going to say I have never been okay with the casting of the character. And that's mainly just because Brie Larson did not have any experience in any kind of an action role.
Okay.
She did win an Oscar. It was for drama.
Yeah.
So it was kind of a different genre. And people will argue that her role in Kong was an action role. But honestly, it was more like a damsel in distress as opposed to being like the main hero.
Right.
So I was a little apprehensive about that casting. I honestly had my heart set on Emily Blunt.
Okay. I was going to ask who you were thinking of.
We don't always get the person that we think should play the role.
Goodness, no. Because when I first saw it announced, and I wasn't alone, I thought Katie Sackhoff was
I've
perfect
seen you
choice.
say that she should have been the...
And she wanted it too. Like when
I
they
know.
first announced Captain Marvel was going to be it, Katie was like on it. She's like, I want to do this. So like, yes, perfect casting. After seeing her for so many years as Starbuck, sort of delivering that, she delivered that tough girl, strong woman persona without the baggage that tends to come with it. Usually strong woman just means she's kind of mean to everybody and she doesn't put up with any crap and she hits people a lot. And Starbuck was not that. Like, she still didn't put up with people's crap, but when she wasn't putting up with your crap, like, she would deliver that snark, or that she would deliver those lines with a smirk, with a little half
to open
smile.
Your mouth.
And you kind of got that sense where she was telling you back off, but she wasn't being mean about it, you know. And so like that was the character I was hoping for Captain Marvel, and unfortunately we didn't get it. But you liked the movie?
I thought they really did a good job with the story and setting everything up. I liked the way that they did the memory loss. I liked the flip flop on the Skrulls actually not being the bad guys.
Yes,
I thought that was a fresh take on that, and it provided an opportunity for the hero to have a side of compassion. Which is important, especially, I don't know what the plans are, if she's going to be like the new Captain America moral compass of the new Avengers, then they're kind of setting that person up to have the same compassion as Captain America did,
which is important. And I agree with you. I like that because Marvel started out, the MCU started out, as much as I love the MCU, they started out with some very bland villains, some very I'm a bad guy because I'm a bad guy kind of villains. They were very one-dimensional. They were just there for the hero to punch. They were here to give somebody for the hero to fight. And I think about the time, I think Civil War started it, but there weren't really any villains in Civil War because the conflict was between our heroes. But with Vulture, I think Vulture was the first one I noticed where they were really starting to give the villain a reason for existing other than to be the villain. I mean, Vulture had every reason to be the way he was. And
same with Hela. They did it right in Ragnarok too.
Right.
I think that was just a great movie, and it ranks up there pretty high for me.
I would agree too.
They finally got Thor right.
I think so, yeah, because you can't take that character too seriously, I don't think.
No.
You try, and I think I think the first one would have done better if they had been a little less serious with the character, and that was my worry with Thor, is like, how are you going to deliver a god to a general audience who's not familiar with Marvel Comics and say, this guy's a god, but he's not, like, you gotta take that with sort of a tongue-in-cheek, like, yeah, we know what we're doing, and they didn't. They were like, let's be serious about this, and I don't think it worked quite as well as the third one did.
The dynamic with Natalie Portman, too, that did not work well at all, and it didn't do that film any justice at all. So, yeah.
And I didn't notice that at first. Like, at first,
if you go back and watch them again, it jumps out at you.
Now that you know, that she didn't want to be there. Like, at first, I'm just like, she's just not doing very well, because I'm kind of iffy on Natalie Portman. Sometimes she's really good, and other times she's not.
I agree.
So watching that, I'm like, well, it's just kind of average Natalie Portman. She's just kind of okay. And then I go back and watch it, and I'm like, oh, she didn't want to be there. And it makes total sense. Like, her friend in that movie was a much better character than she was.
Darcy?
Yeah, she was
Darcy,
hilarious the whole time. She was awesome. So there, I would agree with you. I love that they did that with the Skrulls. I love that they gave her that conflict, that thing to think about, that reason to come back to being human. And I loved that part. I was talking to Julie about this. The scene, we both really liked the scene where they kept showing her getting back up.
Okay, yeah, I wanted to talk about that.
Really liked that scene, and what I really liked the most about that scene is when she's talking to the AI.
Supreme Intelligence?
Yes. When she's talking to that, it doesn't say, well, you're just a woman. You're just a human.
That's what I liked about it, too. Because I was waiting for the woman to come.
Yes.
I was waiting for that to be the reason you're a woman and you can't do it.
Right.
And I'm like, here comes this rhetoric that, everybody's been preaching. That's, But then it was really refreshing whenever she stood up. It was because you're human.
Yeah. You're a human, and
I was like, oh, good. I'm glad they did that.
It was like, kudos to the writers, because the marketing, and that's the thing that really I tried really hard not to let that set my expectations.
Right.
But the marketing was awful, and some of the things that it
was the clickbait headlines.
Yes.
So because if you actually read the articles,
most of them
it was
weren't
garbage. But the first female MCU, I'm like, there's so many females in the MCU, and we're getting a Black Widow movie, and you still have Scarlet Witch and the Wasp, and I'm just like, what about all of these other characters? Right. We have strong female characters. Right. It's not like this is the end all be all, the only one that there is.
Right. And that, you're right. And
that
they
bothers
sort
me.
of pushed that forward as like, finally, like, what
well,
about the other
all
ones?
these other women?
Like,
you have Valkyrie. You have,
Valkyrie movie would have been awesome. Sif. I wanted to see more with Sif.
Mantis.
Mantis
Gamora,
is a great character. There's
Nebula.
So many.
Like, I mean, can we not forget about all of the other awesome female MCU who paved that way for Captain Marvel? Because if they hadn't done such a stellar job in their roles, we may have never gotten a female lead MCU character.
Yeah.
So
they might not have.
But don't discount those people.
Right.
I
agree. and it's long overdue. Like, Black Widow's a great character, and I know they've had a hard time. I mean, Black Widow and Hawkeye and Hulk are the three, and I know they've tried Hulk movies, but they've fallen so flat. And those characters, they've always been, and even in the comics, those characters have a hard time holding their own titles.
Captain Marvel had a hard time holding a
yeah,
title.
She did. And that's why it was such an odd choice. Like, Captain Marvel is such an unknown character to most people, especially the Carol Danvers version.
Carol Danvers version, yeah.
And if they had brought her in as Miss Marvel, I think more people would have embraced it right away. Because like you, a lot of people do like Miss Marvel. Miss Marvel, I would recognize Miss Marvel's cosplay at a convention far more frequently than I would see Captain Marvel.
Yeah.
Now we'll probably see a lot more Carol Danvers.
Probably.
Captain Marvel, but Miss Marvel's cosplay has been out there for decades, literally decades. So I was kind of surprised at that choice that they went there first, that they've sort of neglected the other characters.
Well, my issue 1 of Captain Marvel for Carol Danvers like tripled in price. So
yeah, you're gonna have that. Obviously, that's gonna be a good thing, and hopefully it stays up there. Because I mean, there are people that want that character, they like that character, and I hope they give. This is kind of where my problem with the other side of the sort of the debate, I guess you could say, on it is. I've seen a lot of people that say, well, finally we have a female character, and while the movie's not great, it's good enough. Why is good enough okay? Like, let me ask you.
Okay.
Shouldn't you expect the same level of quality from Marvel, Disney, as I would expect in Captain America? Yes. They're saying that you finally got your female lead.
So I'm okay with it.
It should be okay because it's good enough.
Well, and here's where I'll be completely honest as far as if I were to compare, and I know everybody wants to compare Captain Marvel and Wonder Woman, okay? You got the whole Marvel DC thing where, they're always rivals and whatnot. But if I were to go on like just my gut feeling, what it felt like for me as a woman to sit in that theater and watch both of those movies, I can honestly say that Wonder Woman gave me more goosebumps than Captain Marvel did. Yeah. And I think that as far as the topic of feminism, Wonder Woman did a better job in that because it was so subtle.
Right.
And I think what I liked about it most was that, Wonder Woman she'd never been around a man.
Right.
So whenever you barge into a room full of old white guys in Parliament or wherever she was, she didn't think anything of it.
Right.
It was like,
it's normal.
And kudos to the writers for that.
Right.
But I thought that was interesting. But honestly, I felt like as far as the movie, I felt that was a little bit more powerful for me. And so while Captain Marvel did a good job, I don't know that I would have liked to see a little bit better.
Yeah. Yeah. I think probably my biggest complaint, I liked the movie. It met expectations. I did a show a few weeks ago, and I said, I think it's going to be a mid to mid-high level Marvel movie. It's not going to be as good as like Winter Soldier or, Guardians of the Galaxy, but it's going to be up there with like Black Panther, with Iron Man. It's going to be, it's going to be good.
With the solo origin flicks. Yeah. The origin flicks are plagued with that slow beginning, and they've never really figured out how to get rid of that.
Sort of see that. So when I went into it, I wanted to be surprised though. I wanted to be wrong.
Knock your socks off.
Yeah. and I wasn't. And I think the biggest reason I wasn't, and I'm with you with the casting. Brie Larson, my wife and I have seen a bunch of movies with Brie Larson in it. We can't, without looking it up, tell you what they were.
I know.
Because she is, and I hate to say it this way, but she's an unforgettable actress. Like, she's like actors and actresses out there where you like see their face and you're like, I know that person, but I need to look it up to figure out why.
Yeah.
And so they took an actress who nobody knows and they cast her in this role, and she didn't live up. Like, that's, I guess, to me, she reminded me of somebody who can't sing trying to sing, and everybody going, oh, isn't she great? Her voice is flat. She has no emotion. She has very little tone to her voice. She has her face, even when, like my wife said, even when she was crying, it wasn't believable. It only showed, like, her eyes got wet. Her face didn't change. There was no emotion on her face. There was no expression in her facial features, her mouth, and everybody's like, oh, why didn't she smile? She smiled, but when she smiled, it didn't touch her eyes.
No.
And it made it hard to, like, every time she was on scene, I was like, I don't buy it. I just don't believe it. Did you feel the same way?
I did. I don't know if it was the writers or the directors that I think they were going for like a really dry sarcasm with her, but it felt impersonal and flat. I don't, and maybe that's that, she was raised Cree. They're kind of serious, but I don't know.
And at first I thought that's what they were going for, because I knew Brie Larson. Then I wondered, like, did they write it that way because they knew Brie Larson doesn't do emotion well, or were they really trying to deliver that character and she just didn't pull it off? Because like we're talking about, I'm like, well, she would make a good Vulcan in Star Trek, but even when you have a character that's very stoic and very deadpan, they're not quite as bad as Spock. They're just not quite that flat.
Without Nick Fury, I think it would have been
boring.
It'd have been boring. Yeah, I do think without the cat.
Yeah, the cat, which that's something I wanted to talk about too, the cat, because everybody's like, oh, Nick Fury gets his eye scratched up by a cat, and that's so lame. It's not a cat, people. It's not. Let me tell you, like,
it's great.
I saw people arguing about this too. Like somebody said, oh, cat, it was so lame. He was scratched, like this awesome character gets his eye scratched out by a cat, and somebody's like, it's not a cat. They're like, oh, you're trolling me. No, literally, it's not a cat. It's this weird creature, and here comes one of your spoilers. What did they call it?
It's the Flurkin.
Flurkin, yeah. This thing has like tentacles inside, which the only time in the movie we laughed when they're on the ship and he holds it out and the Kree are running them.
But yeah, that was one of them.
And the tentacles are like beating the crap out of all those guys. Yeah. That made us laugh.
But it reminded me of the Groot scene in Guardians where he totally destroyed them in the hallway and whatnot. But it was tentacles coming out of this cat.
It was the craziest thing. Yeah.
But no, he's a Flurkin, and it's who was it? The Kree. They scanned the cat, and it's like seriously high threat Flurkin. And so they put this muzzle on this tiny cat, and everybody starts laughing. Yeah. And then they scan Fury, and it's like human male, low threat, and he's like, "That's not right."
Yeah. And you know what I expected to, and I'm wondering if it's going to be in the cutscene. I expected them to scan Maria sit next to him and say she was a higher threat, which I'm glad they didn't, because that would have been one of those eye-rolling moments that you don't need. Like,
yeah, and it would have been a cut.
Yeah. And that was, and I found out today, I read, and I was wrong about something. I thought Marie Rambeau, her friend, Carol Danvers' friend, I was like, well, that's actually the original human Captain Marvel.
Yes.
But it's not. It's her daughter.
It's her, yeah.
And I was wrong about the name.
Mary, is it? It's not Maria. I'd have to look it up. Yeah. It's a different first name, but it's Rambeau's the last name.
So the little girl in the movie is in the comic version of Captain Marvel is a throwback, the first human Captain Marvel. After Marvel dies and he gives his powers to, or she gets his powers. And
how'd you feel about the gender switch, Marvel?
I didn't understand why.
I didn't really notice it, to be completely honest. Like, it didn't bother me.
Annette Bening did a great job. Yeah. And the character was cool, and it was awesome. What I thought was odd is I didn't know why. Other than female. Some reason to make... But that could be. Maybe it was sort of a...
That was her mentor.
Yeah. And that makes some sense right there. It just seemed odd because I know... And I when they first were showing the previews and I was seeing Jude Law, I'm like, oh, that's going to be Marvel.
I thought so too.
And then when they did Annette Bening and they said that, I'm like, that doesn't make any sense. I thought it was going to be, but being the mentor character and another female, that does make sense.
It fit with the story because she was the base scientist, and in the 90s there weren't a lot of female pilots, and so both of them said, well, we don't get fly time unless the doctor has something for us to do. So they very much worked together in that environment that was primarily dominated by men at that time. And so I could definitely see that, and I could understand why that would be the person she would see as the representative of the supreme intelligence.
And it does make sense. And like I said, it was just an odd choice, at least for me at the time of seeing it. Hi, puppy. Yes, you're fine. There's water there if you need it too.
Oh, thank you.
What else are we going to talk about? There was a couple.
I liked the did you get the quip about the smile though?
Yes.
Which made me, when she was outside with the map.
Oh,
and the
yeah,
motorcycle,
guy
and he
pulled
goes,
out, yeah.
he made a comment, you should smile more.
Right.
And then she stole his motorcycle.
Yeah.
I thought that was kind of funny. I wonder if they added it in after the fact whenever they were getting the...
Might have
it
been,
was kind of like that little...
Yeah. It could have been.
That punchline for the... I was like, oh, that's kind of funny. I can't imagine that being there before those comments were made. I wonder if they added it.
But what I am glad is they didn't do that a lot.
No, it's just that one little...
Because we do, my wife and I both, we started watching Agent Carter. Mm-hmm. And I think it was the 3rd episode, Julie turns to me and goes, when are they going to write her as a woman? Because the whole time, Julie's like, this is an intelligent, resourceful agent. Mm-hmm. And she's jumping from car to car and beating guys up. Like, that's not how we foresaw that character handling situations like that. Mm-hmm. And then the other thing that we didn't like was in every scene, every guy she was around was either a jerk or stupid. Except for like the one guy.
They do that a lot.
And yeah, we were like, that doesn't, like, that's... A, it's not believable, and mm-hmm. B, it's not appealing to like half your audience. So I'm glad they didn't do that a lot. They, they threw a couple of them in there, which makes, people did that. People talk like that. It's stupid.
People have said that to me before.
Yeah.
Like it's just something. If you're a woman, and I've been called intimidating, and I have the resting bitch face is very strong with me, and so I have had on several occasions, and it's like multiple times, and it's always the same guy. Do you ever smile? About what? Why do I have to have a shit-eating grin on my face 24/7? I don't. Yeah. I'm just. Yeah. I'm just cool with what I'm doing. I don't need to have a smile.
Right. And it's a dumb comment. And people made that comment about the trailers, and they're like, "Oh, she doesn't ever smile." I'm like, did you see Captain Marvel or Captain America smile?
None of them do. They're all serious.
They all got to be like,
man.
"Whoa, we're gonna save the world," and so she was no different than any of the other MCU heroes that we've seen leading movies. So I always thought that was a dumb criticism, and probably it could be a very good reason why they threw that in, because that is a dumb criticism.
It was. That's just I'm curious.
There were a couple of plot holes, which plot holes don't normally bother me. They don't, unless they stand out so badly that I'm sitting there going, "What the shit?"
They weren't terrible, but there were a couple.
And that's usually a thing. Like, you can find a plot hole in anything. I've seen people sit down like, "There's 20 plot holes in this movie," and they break them out, and you're like, those aren't really plot holes. They're just things that you would have done differently than the writer did. Yeah. That's not a plot hole. But when they're sitting in the bar and he's like, "How do you know I'm not a Skrull?" And she explains, well, Skrulls can't remember old memories. And then she starts grilling him. How the hell does she know he's not lying?
Well, I was thinking that whenever she initially... Like how are you going to know? I guess maybe he would not have an answer and he would pause.
Maybe.
I would assume that...
Yeah, but that seemed like such... Because if Skrulls are these masters of infiltration, they're going to be pretty good liars. Mm-hmm. So they would come up with answers to these questions that sound convincing, except to somebody who knows you. Yeah. Because that's the whole point, is they don't know your old memories, so if you're a friend, you would know it's not real because you would ask them questions, and they wouldn't know the answers. How the hell does she know what his
She asked some pretty personal questions, so I would imagine, like, if it was, like, from an interrogation standpoint, it would, he would... She's trying to fluster him, right. I think, since she didn't know him. Yeah. I mean, I think that's what the writers and the director was going for.
That's probably what they were thinking.
Whether or not it really... Because I was thinking the same thing. I was like, how the hell is she going to know? She doesn't know anything about Nick Fury. What's she going to ask him?
And there was another one I wish I could remember, and I can't remember it now. There was another moment where I was sitting there going, what? What the hell?
Well, I had to think about the Tesseract.
That confused me. I'm not sure that's a plot hole, but
it's not a plot hole, but I really had to put it together in the timeline with Captain America in World War II, right. And then the Tesseract ended up in the bottom of the ocean, and Howard Stark recovered it. Yes, and it went to S.H.I.E.L.D. Yeah, but and then Captain Marvel happened. So we have Project Pegasus and Marvel. Yes. So and it was in her space lab.
Get it? And did Pegasus get it to do this experiment? Like that's where I'm not sure what happened.
I think it's a military base. So I mean, if Howard Stark recovered the Tesseract for the military, then probably S.H.I.E.L.D. would have it. Right. They would have it. So they probably provided it to the doctor for her research. Yeah. And then I'm assuming of course Goose eats the Tesseract. Yes. and then he hairballs it up on Nick Fury's desk.
Right. Which, that's kind of the part where I'm confused about, because I can't remember if it's at the beginning of Avengers, right? Where Nick Fury brings in that scientist to study the Tesseract because they want to make weapons.
And Loki comes and takes it.
Yeah, it almost seems like, and I have to go back and watch, I may be wrong, but it almost seems like Nick Fury had just discovered this thing and he doesn't know anything about it. And if the cat coughed it up on his desk like 15 years before that,
he knows about it.
Yeah, so that's where I'm really confused. I need to go back and watch the
There might be some
there.
inconsistencies with that whole thing. Because, I mean, they didn't know they were going to do Captain Marvel at that time. They did a pretty good job of fitting it in.
Yeah.
There's also the comment in, I want to say, Winter Soldier? Maybe. That Nick Fury talks about losing his eye.
Yeah.
Last time I trusted somebody, I lost an eye.
Right. Which could be anything.
Yeah, but I wouldn't really think that, I trusted this cat. And
right. It does seem weird that that's the thing. And I can see why people would be upset if it was just a cat. It's still kind of weird that it was more than a cat, because he seems like he lost it to somebody.
That line
somebody that he trusted.
Although he was really lovey with the cat, and I think some of the funniest moments was the Skrull leader Talos. Yeah. The one where he's sipping from the, and then also every time Nick Fury was like lovey with the cat, he's like, "Oh no, don't touch it, get that thing away from me." I mean, just scared of that cat. That
was very well. I did like that. I at first I was kind of weirded out by the Skrull because he had the leader, because he had an accent, and I'm like, this is like, he's a British dude, but he's from outer space. But I quickly forgot about it. Yeah,
I liked it. Yeah, he had personality.
Yeah, he did. He really did. Him and Fury, the cat. Coulson wasn't in it very much, which was kind of disappointing. I was hoping Coulson would be in it more. I do like him a lot. The little girl, the little girl had a ton of personality.
She was, and the friend, Marie LeBeau, had a Rembo. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
Rembo.
She was very good. So I was very happy with all of that. What else? The Avenger thing. That was the other thing that a bunch of people. Well, yeah, we'll talk about that.
That's
too.
A big one. That was my biggest criticism.
Some people are thinking that they're saying Captain Marvel is what inspired the Avengers by being the first Avenger, and they're confused by a line where, like, they say that Nick Fury says that he created the Avenger Initiative because of people like Thor, like the Asgardians, which I can't remember the exact line, but that could be a very general speaking about people from off of Earth.
He could be putting into context to something that the characters at that time would relate to, which would be Thor.
Yes, because there's a good reasoning behind him keeping the Skrull conflict a secret, because she was trying to find them a home planet. The Kree were probably still looking for them. It's probably a good idea not to have let anybody know about Skrulls. So that could be why he kept that a secret. And then, getting the name from her call sign, it was like, oh, that makes her the first Avenger. That doesn't really make her the first Avenger. Captain America is still the first Avenger. It just means that when he was coming up with the name, that's where he got the idea. He just took the name from her call sign, which was I don't know, it's a weird thing to complain about. I know people are complaining about it, but it's like, why? It doesn't make any sense.
They're calling a plot hole the pager as well.
Oh, really?
Yeah. They're saying, well, if Nick Fury's had this pager the whole time, why didn't he, the attack on New York, why didn't he use the pager then? Right. Now, the MCU made a response, I believe, today and said, how do you know that he hasn't? And she just didn't answer.
That's true. It could have been. She also said, in case of emergency, like extreme. That's why he put I think, if you follow his reasoning, or you can make the case that he viewed that as a last resort. He knew she had things to do that were extremely important.
He was disintegrating. That's an emergency.
Right, yeah. like the pager was the in case of fire button when you've used the fire extinguisher and the garden hose and the things don't come on in the ceiling. that's the last resort. That's the nuclear option. And I think if you followed his reasoning, he's like, well, I'm going to put this team together who can hopefully handle these kinds of threats.
They should be able to do it.
And hopefully I don't have to bother her while she's doing her thing. And then the attack on New York happens, and he's like, well, let's see how they do. They did fine, okay. And then every obstacle since then has been like, okay, well, let's see how the Avengers are doing fine. Mm-hmm. And then when he realized, oh shit, this is the nuclear option, let's see, he hits the pager.
Yeah.
So it's not that difficult of a reasoning to.
I don't think that's a plot hole, though.
No, I don't think so.
But people are calling it a plot hole.
Yeah, I don't think it is. I think it's just.
It's just a reasoning. Yeah. It's something behind the scenes we didn't see.
Right. Yeah, and you're gonna have
and you're just gonna have to speculate on what you think happened. Yeah. Maybe he pushed it and she didn't answer, or maybe he was just holding out. He put together a team of multiple powered individuals. Mm-hmm. Gosh, I would hope they'd be able to handle it, right?
Exactly.
So
I would agree.
I don't know.
So the power thing, and this is I think going to lead into the future of the MCU and where he said, "Oh my gosh, dog." Aston, come here, buddy. That's a live show for you. Would you settle down? Come here. Leave her alone. Yeah, she was basically one punch girl there toward the end.
At the end, like, I don't know. I thought for sure, like, she's going at these Kree missiles, and there's tons of them. And I'm like, well, she can't destroy all those missiles. Like, that's just, what is she thinking she's doing?
Yeah.
And she destroys all the missiles.
All of them, yeah.
And I'm like, what?
Right.
And then through the entire, the Kree ship, all the way through. Really?
Yeah. So, yeah.
I mean, that was the most, just absolutely 100% unstoppable. Like, at that point, whenever I watch this, and maybe people want to argue with me or whatever, but I question whether or not she could take Superman after that.
Right, exactly.
I mean, I'm serious, like, that overpowered. Like, just in general, writing stories, you don't want to, especially if they're going to do multiple Captain Marvel movies.
Right.
I mean, you pulled out all the stops, and you went from 0 to 800. Where do you go from there as far as character development? Like, you've already set this bar so high. Yeah. Where does it go? And I was trying to think, okay, so who could take on Thanos? Well, obviously she could take on him. She could take him on. She's powered by the energy of the Tesseract, and who better to fight somebody who's using the Infinity Stones than somebody that's absorbed power from one of the Infinity Stones.
Exactly.
It makes sense. But once she's defeated Thanos, then
what?
Who's next?
Like you said, Galactus?
Galactus?
Maybe.
But I don't even know if they have the rights to Galactus. That was a question that we talked about on Twitter with some of my followers.
Yeah, I don't know. Did it come with Fantastic Four?
I would have hoped so.
Surfer, I would think.
But then that's the thing. Okay, then if they're going to bring in Galactus, are they going to bring in Fantastic Four and Silver Surfer, which would be awesome to get a Fantastic Four movie that isn't garbage.
Yeah. I mean, it would be nice to finally see that. Yeah. And maybe that's going to be the thing, but you're right. Like, what are they? They're going to fall into the same trap that we've always fallen into with Superman movies. Actually, more so, because at least with Superman,
he has a weakness.
He has two weaknesses. He has humanity is one of his weaknesses, which they didn't use. That's why I hated Man of Steel, because they completely ignored one of his weaknesses. And then Kryptonite.
But she has no weaknesses, I can tell.
Not that we can see. There's nothing that can stop her powers. There's nothing that can hold her back or diminish them. And she doesn't seem to run out of energy.
The only thing they could do is if they're going to tie in X-Men and Rogue is going to absorb some of her powers and take her down a notch. Yeah. Then you've got a character you can work with, which I'd love to see that happen. But,
that would be great.
And we could get a Rogue character that doesn't suck.
Oh, God. Yeah, please. Please.
But now that they have the rights to the X-Men, I mean, that's not out of the realm of possibilities. Yeah. So you have to question, maybe?
Maybe. I hope so. But
and maybe
you're
a Gambit?
Right.
I'd love to see
that. Yeah, I'd like to see a good Gambit. I'd like to see good X-Men. I mean, we've had some hit or misses with X-Men, and I think the MCU, if they play their cards right and they do it right, they could probably deliver some pretty good stuff.
Well, they've done good with the Marvel properties.
Yeah, they really have.
The ones that they have so far. Yeah.
So I'm hopeful for that. I'm hopeful. I would love to see a good Rogue too. That's very disappointing because I'm a when it comes to comics, I'm a child of the '90s, and though I've read stuff that goes further back,
Yeah.
I came into comics when it was Wolverine and Rogue and Colossus and Gambit and Bishop and all of them.
Mm-hmm.
So seeing them done well would be awesome because so far we've had some very disappointing. Archangel has been pathetic.
Yep.
In every iteration, Angel has been awful. Rogue was not good at all. As much as I really...
They've not done a great Storm.
No. I liked Halle Berry's Storm in the first
They gave her cheesy
movie.
lines.
Yeah.
They gave her terrible lines.
The writing was awful.
What happens to a toad in a storm?
Yeah, that
Same
was
thing
dumb.
as everything else.
That was so dumb.
I'm like, really? That's the writing? Are you kidding me?
That was
terrible.
Bad. And then the younger one that I hated what they did with Storm and Apocalypse.
Yeah.
I
hated that they wasted Psylocke, to be completely honest. That's one of my favorite characters. They totally blew that character.
I want to see, so I want to see, and X-Force may save them. Archangel, Psylocke, hopefully Wolverine, X-Force should be able to take care of those characters and do them really well. I hope anyway, because they've done really well with Cable and Deadpool.
Yeah.
So we'll see on those. But yeah, again, and the power level concerns me the future of the MCU because you've had 10 years now of these build up of these characters, Captain America and Thor and Scarlet Witch and Vision, who I'm sure is going to have a hand in everything. All of these characters have built up and fought tooth and nail and died and bled and cried and lost people. And I'm afraid they're going to bring Captain Marvel in and she's just going to knock Thanos
and
out.
It's going to be done.
That's it. And
make them all look weak and
yeah,
useless.
Exactly. And that's what I'm afraid of. And then they're going to, they're going to...
I loved those characters.
Right.
Why would you do that?
Yes. And it's going to make... What it'll do, unfortunately, is it'll make people hate her even more.
Oh, I know.
And they should. They need to not... Like, they need to bring her in such a way that makes people embrace that character.
Well, and especially if they're planning on her coming in as a leadership role.
Yeah.
All right.
Which
I'm not sure if that's the plan for that.
I hope not. I hope her next movies take her out into space. But
that might be where they have to go with her because she's going to be fighting. She's going to have to fight some kind of celestial or some kind of intergalactic being as powerful as she is.
I think so, and I think it needs to. I think she would be a good combination in that with. I mean, Guardians of the Galaxy still has to go up against Adam. Namor.
Or no, that's not who.
Who are you thinking of?
Oh, never mind. I can't think of it now.
Okay.
It'll pop up to me 5 minutes
usually
later. I'll just blurt it out.
But going into... Oh, sorry, Tiffle. I couldn't see the chat. Yes, it is. That is a Jayhawk shirt. Thanks for joining. I hope you're still there, and I didn't see that too late.
I didn't notice it either. I've been watching.
I was looking at the top box up here, and I'm like, the chat's not. And then, I saw it too late. Hopefully you're still there. But yeah, I think because Guardians of the Galaxy still has Adam coming up. Oh, fantastic! Glad to see you. Thanks for joining over on Twitch. They still have to fight Adam Warlock, who's going to be a huge problem for the Guardians.
Yeah. But is he going to stay a Guardians problem?
Yeah, I don't know. That could be where they take her, because she's always been sort of an intergalactic character, which would also open up the option to bring in Sword, which is S.H.I.E.L.D.'s space division.
Sure.
Kree and the Chitauri and, who knows, Planet Hulk. There could be that. We could see her against Hulk on Planet. There's a lot of potential there. I'm just not sure I want to see her as a mainstay or a leader in the Avengers franchise. Because of how powerful she is, I don't see what the point would be. Why do you need the other team members? So you could just show up and knock everybody down and it's over.
Well, what about Phase 4 then? Which characters do you think we're losing? And which ones do you think we're getting?
Oh, that's what. So I'm certain we're keeping Black Panther.
Yes.
Ant-Man and the Wasp are going to join the Avengers as full members. So will Spider-Man.
Doctor Strange.
Doctor Strange. hopefully, because I really did. I like Doctor Strange.
That was a good casting choice.
Yes.
I think,
oh my God,
yeah,
perfect.
Perfect casting
And
choice.
the effects and the way they handled the character were great. I just don't think they gave him enough to do in his own movie. It was the origin movie
problem
thing.
where
yeah.
the first half of the movie is building
Yes.
up to getting the powers and doing all the
Right.
backstory. It's every origin movie is plagued with having to do some of that.
Yes. So I'm hoping, and we haven't seen another movie. There hasn't been another one. Like, they put him in the other ones, but we haven't heard anything about another Doctor Strange movie. So I don't know if we're going to get another.
I've heard
one.
whispers.
Whispers.
Yeah.
Hopefully, because Black Panther had its problems, but I did enjoy it. I like the character. I like the way he's done. I love the costuming in that movie. So I'm hoping.
The costumes in that movie were amazing.
Yes. I want to see what I really want to see, and I hope they have the balls to do it, because Marvel tends to not have. Okay, show me the body. I'm just going to say it flat out. Captain America is going to die. He needs to. Don't leave it, because Chris Evans is done. He's not doing any more.
He's already said his goodbye on
yes.
Twitter.
Don't leave it vague. Don't give us a cutscene where we're like, oh, is he really dead? No, show me the body. Captain America should die. Bucky should pick up the shield. I don't think he should lead the Avengers. He's not the leader type.
No.
But I don't want to see them leave it vague. I don't want to see them leave audiences with maybe he'll come back. They do that in the comics, and it drives me absolutely bonkers.
Yeah.
I want to see Iron Man should retire. I don't want to see Tony die.
I don't either, because he's got a good thing with Pepper going on, and he should be able to have a family, right?
Yes. So I want to see him retire, and I would actually like to see Shuri pick up the mantle. She's got technological background. She's an inventor in her own right. She's creates her own devices. I mean, the gloves that she had,
those were cool,
are pretty much the same thing.
Yeah.
So I would like to see her do sort of an Iron Man. I don't want to see her replace Iron Man. I don't like when they do that in comics either.
No.
Make new characters. Don't replace existing characters because you don't think the new character will sell. Don't put her in the Iron Man suit. Give her her own Iron Man type character, but make it unique. Make it unique to her and her culture and her people. I think that would be a great way to carry on that sort of character archetype without replacing Iron Man.
And everybody loves her character anyway, so why would you not? Yeah.
Exactly. She's interesting, and she's
a
cool.
favorite.
Yes, definitely. So I think we're going to see, and maybe we're going to see a split. I don't know, because that's a lot of characters, because you still have what's going to happen to Scarlet Witch. Black Widow, we haven't heard
Scarlet
anything.
Witch is getting the streaming show.
Right, so is she going to leave Avengers to
I don't
get
know.
her own
That's
shows?
another question.
Are
they going to move some of these characters onto the streaming platform and not have them on the big screen?
Yeah.
I think it'd be a serious disgrace to take Scarlet Witch off of the screen, because she has so much potential. If anybody could potentially go toe to toe with Captain Marvel, it'd be Scarlet Witch, because she can literally do just about anything her mind can think of.
Yeah.
She's pretty she's an overpowered character that they haven't even begun to. But that's what I mean. Like, why Captain Marvel out of the gate, completely overpowered. Then you have Scarlet Witch that you've held her back, and she's had growth.
Yeah.
She's learning to use her powers a little bit more each film, which is developing that character. It's a completely different.
And hopefully when they bring in the X-Men, they can admit to her lineage.
That'd be nice.
I don't know what they're going to do about Quicksilver being dead. But
he's not dead. Well, depends on which.
Yeah, I guess depends on which universe you're looking at and how they bring them in. Glad to see it. Well, yeah, it might help to have seen the movies, but that's okay. I mean, you can always go back and watch them. And yeah, the nice thing about the MCU and the Marvel movies is they have used a lot from the comics, but they've also done some of their own things to make them unique, rather than try to rehash old stories.
You wouldn't have to read the comics to be able to watch those
I don't
movies.
think so. I don't think so. And I
they
think
they stand on their own.
Exactly. The thing with Scarlet Witch too, dog, you're wrapped around my headset cord, buddy. You need to get out of there. She's an Omega level mutant. She literally made half of the world's mutants not mutants anymore on Imday. So her power is, like you said, she's one of the most powerful beings in the Marvel Universe.
Yep.
She's up there with Magneto and Xavier and Jean Grey, Captain Marvel. She is probably one of the only people that could stop Captain Marvel if needed, because her magic can do anything. So yeah, it would be a shame to see her gone, but maybe we'll see. Maybe they're going to do like a West Coast Avengers type of thing with the small screen, and take some of the lesser known Avengers and put them in there, or bring in some. They can always do a rotation too. That's kind of the nice thing with the smaller screen stuff. Not that I'm going to get it, because I'm very irritated that Marvel and Disney are taking stuff off of Netflix and creating their own.
Oh, I don't want to talk about that. It makes me cry.
I'm not going to pay for another service flat out. I'll wait till it comes out on DVD.
Yeah.
But that gives them the option to do some rotating, which has always been a mainstay of the Avengers comics anyway. You can bring in characters, take out characters, you can shift characters around.
What if they took the Netflix stuff down because they're adding them into the MCU?
That could be.
It could be.
Hope so. At least Daredevil and Punisher. The other ones have been okay, hit or miss, but the guy playing Daredevil is perfect.
Oh, he's amazing.
And Punisher, perfect.
I want more Karen Page. She's amazing.
She's awesome. His friend Foggy was really good. I did
cast was.
I like the guy they picked to play Luke Cage. I don't think they gave him good stuff to work with.
No, they didn't. Especially that I think it was second. Was it just 2 seasons?
2 seasons, yeah.
The second season I thought they really put him in a bad guy role. Yeah. I didn't like to see that happen.
No, I didn't like that either.
Because that's not Luke Cage.
No.
That's not.
They tried to make it make sense, and it didn't make sense.
It didn't make sense.
No.
I know they tried to justify that, but
right.
no.
Yeah, and the casting. I think
I've met Mike Coulter. He's a fantastic dude, and he's really awesome. He's
That's why
so
I've
nice.
seen pictures that he's really tall, isn't he? Yeah.
Oh yeah, he's a big dude. I stand next to him like, oh my god.
Yeah. And I like who they picked to play Danny. Again, I don't think they gave him enough time to learn martial arts, and I don't think they gave him good enough material to work with either.
No.
Really, the only casting choice in the Netflix side I had was, I don't like the actress they picked for Jessica Jones.
I do.
Every time
Kristen
she talks,
Ritter,
she sounds like she's whining every time she talks. And I don't like the way they wrote the character in the first season either. She was completely unlikable. I did not like her at all.
Well, they wrote her after her superhero exploits, and she's all jaded, and
she's just mean, and she's angry all the time.
Bitchy and angry all the time. Alcoholic. It's like she's an anti-hero.
Yeah, and you can do that to an extent, but you got to give something for the people to like. And I liked her neighbor better than I liked her.
There were some moments that she had, but they didn't give her enough moments.
No, it got better. And it got better in season 2, but then season 2, have we had season 2? Yeah,
yes.
We had season 2. It got better in season 2, but it was still kind of that, like in the first one, the villain was by far the best character in the whole thing.
Oh, Kilgrave.
And fantastic. The second one, the villain, and I liked her friend, who was the drug addict in the first season.
Yeah, with the setup for the Black Cat. Oh no.
Yeah, her neighbor friend, who was the addict in the first season, got his shit together. In the second, like, he was a much better developed character in that show than I thought Jessica Jones was. But it does leave the option to bring those in and mix them up, and that will be kind of cool to see. I'm just disappointed that they're putting it on its own platform, because I'd like to see.
I'm not surprised because they own so many properties. It's not just going to be the Marvel stuff; it's going to be all of the Disney properties. And if you look at what Disney owns, it's pretty much it's damn near everything.
It's a lot of stuff. It's a lot of big stuff that we like.
They bought up a lot of the classics. They bought rights to things over the years. It just,
yeah.
I mean, they'll have a. But then the sad thing is that you won't have those on the Netflix or the Hulu
right.
But doesn't Disney own Hulu?
I don't know.
I think they do.
Possibly, which is kind of weird, seeing companies that own other companies but they don't mix.
Well, what better way to make sure that your streaming service is a success than buy another streaming service and make it tank?
Yeah, maybe.
Hey, business is cutthroat.
Yeah, it really is. So Yeah, I'm thinking Phase 4. I don't know if Phase 4 is up in the air. I'm worried because I know they wanted Captain Marvel to be the next, like, tent pole, the next pillar of this phase, and I don't, at least for this movie, I don't think it was that good. I think it was good. I think it was enjoyable.
It was solid.
It was funny. It was solid story. Effects were amazing. They did a really good job with costuming and the development of other characters. I'm just afraid the Captain Marvel character they created in this movie, I think they need to look at it.
I'm surprised some people aren't talking about those criticisms. I don't know if people are afraid to talk about them.
Probably. I quite honestly, some people have flat out said, and some people, I'm not just saying some people, like a couple of internet trolls, like legit reviewers and
like,
media
I felt like
people
this was a little off.
journalists,
you know?
have come right out and said, you know, if I've seen people with blue check marks on Twitter who write for major newspapers that have said, if you're a white dude and you have an opinion about this movie, keep it to yourself.
Yeah.
I've also, and I've seen reviewers that said, well, it wasn't for me, but I'm not going to give it a bad review because it meant something to somebody else. That's not your job.
But your job is to review the movie.
Yeah.
And you should be able to review it without a bias and just... You should be able to look at the elements of the movie. Okay, the story, you know, the characters, the acting, the music, the costumes. You should be able to look at the elements of it and be able to give an unbiased opinion of that movie.
But I do.
And
I
not
do
have
think,
people jump down your throat.
Right. You should be able to. And I think that's why a lot of people aren't. Or, I mean, it flat out, we saw reviewers. Now we're getting into the juice of the meat. Yeah. There was a guy who was interviewed for an article shortly after he did his initial review of Captain Marvel, and he said, look, some of the reviewers who get into these movies early for free will avoid giving bad reviews because they're afraid they'll lose their access. So they'll give sort of okay reviews, or they'll be careful about what they say, or in his words, they'll softball it in order to not lose their access.
I've read that.
Which is unfortunate because that to me is deceptive right out of the gate. And when other people are relying on you to let them know, hey, should I spend my money on this? Especially the cost of movies now. Like, we're lucky. We went to see it on Sunday, and the matinee price here all day Sunday is like $6. But some people are paying $10-15 a person.
We went and saw it in 2D IMAX, so
you know, then you're paying a lot of money. And if you got kids,
it was like it was 3 of us, and I bought 4 tickets because I had a friend that went with us too, and I think it was like $53 for us to go to the movies.
That's a lot of money.
And then Marcus was like, "Are we gonna get popcorn?" And I said, "We'll go get popcorn." He's like, "Come on, Moneybags, go get me." He wanted me to go buy him popcorn. I just bought $53 in tickets.
So I mean, so people want to know: is it going to be worth that money? Is it worth my $53?
Yeah, because it's not cheap to go to the theater.
No, it's not. Unless you're, I mean, that's why we waited till Sunday. Well, 2 reasons. We wait till Sunday because the theater's almost empty, which this time it wasn't. It was pretty good.
Well, it was opening weekend, so it should you should still have some people that are thinking the same thing you are.
Yes, I think more and more people are doing that. Get in there first showing on Sunday. There's not as many people there. The more people that do that, the more people.
Like you go to the 10, 11 o'clock show, people are still in church or they're having lunch after church.
Exactly. So and because our theater here in our hometown does matinee all day, suddenly $30. Yeah. Sometimes exactly.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's better to wait, and that's kind of the thing. We
I
gotta
don't know.
be so choosy
I'm glad
now.
I'll be completely honest. I'm glad I saw it on the big screen, and I'm really glad I saw it on IMAX because the colors were very vivid. There were some really cool effects in that, and it was worth the money for me. And to have the crisper sound, it just it was.
I would agree. It is a big screen movie.
It's a big screen movie.
The effects and the
I
colors
would say it's
were
worth.
fantastic.
It was worth the money for me. I was glad I went to see it.
Yep.
Now there's been some other movies that I've seen that I'm like,
yeah.
I'm pretty sure there was a moment during Batman versus Superman that I was like,
God.
why are we here?
Yeah.
It hurts so bad.
Yeah. I got out of that movie and I'm like, I looked at Julie and I'm like, I'm tired.
Oh yeah, it was a train wreck.
I'm exhausted.
I'm sorry for fans of that movie because I know some people. I don't get it. But I'm not going to go into that. But
yeah,
it didn't do it for me.
Nope, didn't do it for me. I have not been shy about that opinion. I did not like that movie, and it effectively ruined all of the DCEU for me. I did see Justice League here. We rented it, and I don't even remember it. Like, I think while we watched it, I was doing something else, and I got to the point where I just wasn't watching it anymore because it was just boring.
I've made the decision that I'm not going to see any. I'm not spending any money on DC in the theater.
Yeah.
Not until something changes.
I don't blame you. I mean, they'll have to really turn things around. I think James Gunn has a good chance with Suicide Squad if they let James Gunn do James Gunn, because he is a good movie maker.
But they've recast.
Yeah, they recast a couple people, and I don't know.
I don't know what happens with that.
Yeah, it's hard to say.
Well, they tried the first Suicide Squad. They tried to make it all about Deadshot because they had Will Smith.
Right.
And they tried too hard when everybody really wanted Harley Quinn.
Yeah.
They didn't give people what they wanted.
Right.
Which, I'm not saying every audience should get what they want all the time because sometimes we don't know what we want.
Right. I mean, you could jam Venom into a third Spider-Man movie because that's what the fans want. Yeah, good job, guys. That was smart.
That was awful. We'll probably get a third Spider-Man movie, don't you think?
Oh yeah, we'll absolutely get a third Spider-Man movie. Probably more because this kid's young. With the way the MCU is doing their movies, I mean, how many times have we seen Iron Man? I don't think we're going to see just Spider-Man.
He'll be cameos in other movies.
Yeah, he'll be in the other ones, and we might get 4 out of him. I mean, they've been sticking to the trilogy thing and then the team movies, but who knows going forward? We might see.
It wouldn't be bad to see them mix some things up and change that a little bit, just because that's what people are used to.
Right. Do something different. Yeah. I agree.
Because Marvel has been riding the train of success for so long, but I mean, do you feel like you're getting a little bit of superhero fatigue a little bit? I kind of feel it a little bit.
A little bit.
I don't get me wrong, I love superheroes.
Yeah, I agree.
I'm kind of like, most of them are, it's a hero's journey.
Right. Yeah,
how many times can you do the hero's journey?
Right.
That's why I like that they're throwing in some of the anti-heroes, like the Deadpools and stuff. Those are refreshingly new.
Yep. And that is why I liked the way they did. I
did like Wonder Woman. That's the only DC movie that I've liked.
Yeah.
I actually, earlier in the recording, we talked about comparing Wonder Woman to Captain Marvel, and I actually liked Wonder Woman better than I liked Captain Marvel. So I thought it was a better movie, but Wonder Woman is the only one that I have liked out of the DC universe. I'm still up in the air on whether or not I will go to 1984 or not. I know it's still directed by Patty Jenkins. I'm hoping she's going to keep the same mood, but I'm worried how do you bring Steve Trevor back?
Yeah,
I know, and I'm just confused by that, and I don't know if they're doing it just for the sake of doing it.
Right.
Like, does it actually make sense
Hopefully it'll make some sort of sense, yeah.
I would hope so. But out of all of those movies, that was the best one I think that they've done.
Yeah, I would agree too, Phil. And yeah, it is...
Aside from the Dark Knight trilogy.
Oh, yeah, if you go before that, yeah. I would agree too. I think because Wonder Woman was the first time that it looked like they were having fun. And... That's what a comic book movie should be.
Dark and brooding.
Exactly.
So the success of Dark Knight, then DC's like, oh, people, this is what they want. And so they made all of their movies dark and brooding, and they're not.
No.
They don't all need to be that way. Now, I think they lightened it up for Aquaman. I've heard people say good things about Aquaman. I didn't go see it. I haven't seen it. When it comes out on DVD, I'll probably watch it. Yeah. But I've heard that it was colorful and not...
That's what I've heard too. Yeah. That it was more fun, and that's what they should be. Comic book movies don't always need to be funny, but they should be fun. Mm-hmm. Like Batman vs. Superman, like I said, I came out of that exhausted. It felt like a war movie. Mm-hmm. I felt the same way that I felt when we got out of Black Hawk Down. I just felt tired,
emotionally
and
drained. Yeah.
And not because it was. I mean, it should a comic book movie shouldn't be like that. It shouldn't be like a war movie. But that's what it felt like to me. It was exhausting to watch that movie. Partly because it wasn't good, but also because it was so dark and it was so heavy, and they tried to make it so dramatic, and it wasn't. The drama was lost in the silliness of the drama. Like,
well, what they did was they were trying to recreate Civil War.
Yeah.
They should just need to do their own thing, because they've got great content and great characters, and they just need to do what their characters do, and don't worry about what Marvel's doing. Do something different.
Yeah.
You know, do your characters justice and use what you've got, because they've got great material.
Right.
Use it.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. All right, so I think we have just about an hour. We pretty much covered everything about Captain Marvel. Check out Ray's books on Amazon.com. Ray Clark, also author Ray Clark on Twitter.
Yes.
And all my contact information is in the YouTube description. You can find me there. I'll be back here Friday evening for another Frags of Beer Radio Live, and Saturday morning most likely for Saturday Randomness. Anything else you want to throw out there?
No, I'm good.
All right.
Thanks.
Thank you guys, Tufel, for joining us. Thank you everybody else who might have joined on the streams. If you're watching the recording, be sure to like, comment, subscribe, share it out there. All that good stuff. Thank you so much. You guys have a great one. I'll see you next time. Much love.